My name is Andrew Bustamante, and this is Everyday Espionage. We've been exploring the ground truth of espionage through a few different voices this season. First, I introduced you to my friend Edie Jackal, a former deep-cover CIA officer with a long history living what he calls his vocation, his calling. Then we sat with Edie Viper, a career military officer and covert DIA operations officer. Viper talked about priorities and resources and the way he uses his espionage skills to build his network and beat his business competition. Now, I want to introduce you to a new voice, someone with a very different type of story than Jackal or Viper. A voice with an accent and an attitude that inspired and executed countless capture-kill missions across the Middle East. I hope you enjoy learning more from the best. And with that, I want to introduce you to EDSAVAGE. I'm really excited to be sitting here with you. It's not often that I get a chance to sit with an Intel peer in general, and it's especially exciting for me when I get to sit with one from a foreign country. So a couple of ground rules that I want to lay here. We're not going to talk about your real name. We're not going to talk about your family names, where you went to school, anything specific, the businesses that you run. We won't talk about them by name because we want to protect your identity. Whenever we talk about you, we will talk about you as the crypt, Everyday Savage, EDSAVAGE. So I hope you don't mind. I honestly think you're a total badass. Is that fair?
I'm feeling like a beast right now. So, sure.
For everyone listening in, EDSAVAGE is a career intelligence officer from the Australian Army. So when you hear her speak, you will hear common words, terminology that is Australian in nature. It will be confusing. We've been friends for going on a year, and I'm still asking you to translate your own English into American English so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if I hear something that's totally off the wall, I may ask you to translate that into normal speak.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Freedom speak, if you will.
Yes.
And we'll go from there.
Cool.
Just before we sat down, we were talking about what it's like to be a single female dating in today's world. And I want to hear your thoughts on that, because what people listening in don't realize is that you are beautiful, you are intelligent, you are extremely successful, and you are single. So what is it like to basically be like this powerhouse, but then also have to manage dating in today's world?
Yeah. And that's actually a tough question, and it's really hard to put into play in reality as well. So obviously the way that the dating game has changed, it's moved very much online, which I hate, because I'm all about people, so I'm very much a rapport builder, and I like to meet people in person. And I think now you do everything online, even your tone and everything can be skewed or misrepresented and interpreted as well. So all someone has to do now is look at a picture, and if they don't like that picture...
Swipe left, swipe right?
Swipe left, swipe right, but probably left, which is no, right?
Oh, left, no? I don't know. Yeah. That's how old I am.
Or they'll start a conversation with you, and even if your opening line isn't quite what they wanted, or they're not in the mood, and it's the same for you, someone will reach out to you, and if you're not in the mood, then that, contact just goes, and then...
They just fall off.
It falls off, yeah, and then you don't have that option. So a lot of my friends say to me as well, because I've got a lot of single friends as well, I think that's more because they've been in relationships and now they're single again, but you do have to have thick skin to be in the dating game in this kind of day and age.
Now you, in addition to trying to find your way through the romance of dating, you're also building a business, running a business, competing in various types of physical activities, whether they be obstacle courses or whether they be CrossFit competitions. How do you decide who gets your attention and who doesn't?
I think the biggest issue is finding time to meet with somebody, because I don't have the time. I'm never in any country for long enough at the moment, this year in particular. You know, I'll have 4 weeks back home in Australia, or I'll be 9 weeks over here, or I'm going to America for conferences and things as well. And I think next year on the cards is looking very much like that. So it's really me thinking about what's important to me, and I am a big believer of setting goals, and I push push hard to become the best version of myself because I want more. I think there's heaps of opportunity, and I'm that kind of person that always wants more. So I'm striving to be better or to improve something. So it's really making a decision of, do I want that in my life? And everyone says, oh, it'll happen when it happens. When you're not looking for it, it's going to happen. I'm like, well, so I'm not looking and it's not happening. So how do I get better at this? So it's just really deciding. And I have tried it out this year. And, I thought, I had a day where I did nothing all day. It's just me and the dog. And I'm like, my goodness, I need to change. Like, I have to get out and I've got to do something. So I did, and I gave it a crack, but they weren't right for me.
So you were saying that you are the kind of person who always wants more.
Yes.
I am just like that, which is probably why we get along. But that has caused me all sorts of issues. There are people that I run into who, when I try to explain to them what I think is absolutely sound logic, I want more. Yes, I'm happy with what I have, but I have it, so I want more. Mm-hmm. And I want to learn more. I want to grow more. I want to challenge myself more. I don't ever want to just stop and sit on the couch. For a day, to recover, that's one thing. But to just stop learning or stop growing or stop wanting more, stop wanting to achieve more, that doesn't make any sense to me. But there is a very real narrative out there trying to tell people to live in the moment, accept what you have, find your happiness in what there is. And I just don't. Do you also run into that, or am I misinterpreting?
No, and I actually think that's okay for some people. It's just there's a group of us that's not enough for. So people are happy once they reach whatever their perfect day is for their time. And I think that changes for people, whether they acknowledge that or they can actually see that themselves. Like what you consider to be how you want to live now versus maybe in 3 years' time is going to be completely different, because it's going to depend on the age of the kids, the location, what job you're currently in. Have you paid off your house, or you're buying a house, or, are you wanting more holidays? What do you want at this point in your life? And that changes for people, and it should as we evolve, but also society changes around us as well and the demands of that. So I think it's okay to have and be happy with what you've got, but I don't think that'll be forever. It will change.
I also like that what you're saying is that there's no reason for high-achieving people to begrudge people who are satisfied with what they have, but likewise, high-achieving people also don't need to be criticizing themselves about being high-achieving people. We are the ones most susceptible to sitting around pointing fingers at ourselves. Why can't I just be happy with what I have? Why can't I just be satisfied? Why can't I be like so-and-so who's got this and that and the other thing, right? And it sounds like what you're saying is it's okay that some people are like that, but there is a group of us that aren't like that, and we won't be like that. And no matter how much we evolve, that evolution is always going to bring about a demand, an interest in more. And that's the way it is.
It's funny because while I'm here, I sometimes work a 16, 17-hour day, and I will work generally 7 days a week, not for 16 or 17 hours, but I do have a high capacity for workload here. But I also have a high capacity for recovering quite fast. Yeah. So for me, I might just, get one night away, or, a day on the beach, chilling out, and just whatever it is that makes me happy, reading a book, listening to a podcast, whatever that might be, but being on the water. And then I feel like I'm revitalised and I'm good to go for another week.
Everything's concentrated.
And people say, I've got a few people saying at the moment, I don't know how you manage to do this much. I'm like, but it's okay, because my goal is to, whatever that may be, and that's what I'm chasing right now. Right. So I thrive off that, and that's what keeps me going every day. And I don't feel guilty for working hard, or I don't feel guilty for missing out on a dinner with people, because I'm on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to speak.
The mission changes, but being on a mission never changes.
Yeah.
You talked about evolution. So I want to go back. I want to take us back to when you were operating in the field, forward deployed into a war zone, working with the joint operation team. How different was that person, that human collector, that terrorist hunter? How different were you then than the way you are now?
It's interesting. If we talk Army days, Army set the scene, gave me values, and I guess it created a foundation of me as a person. But I really feel like once I got out of the Army, life started for me, because that's when I had the opportunity to make my own decisions as to what's my next job. For me, it was private security industry in the Middle East. And I feel like, although I loved my time in the Army, and I'm very proud of that and what I achieved during then, for me, I evolved as a person once I stepped out and had that opportunity to make my own decisions, and where people relied on you in a different capacity. So,
tell me more about that, because I feel exactly the same way. I was Air Force to start. Air Force was a natural segue into CIA, and then leaving CIA was kind of for me, that was the big plunge, the big jump off the end of the diving board to find out, have I reached my peak, or is my peak still ahead of me? And I believed that my peak was still ahead. I believed I had much more to give than what the agency was interested in applying me to do. But I know exactly what you're talking about, where you feel like once you are outside of government service, even though all the sexiness seems to be, when you have the full force of the U.S. military or the U.S. government, the Australian government behind you, getting out was really where I felt just totally free to really reach and push myself to new levels.
Something I say to my mentees right now in business is that you've got to have your staff, but also your members or clientele, they have to have the same values as you. So for me, my values and vision no longer aligned with the Australian Army and what they wanted my pathway to look like, or what they wanted me to do. And I felt it, and I felt it strong, and I was unhappy. And that was the sign for me to go, you need to move on. And Dad was like, don't. It's the wrong time. GFC's hit. You won't find another job as good. Rah, rah, rah. And I did. I fell on my feet within 3 months, and then I was off to Iraq. So
with private security in Iraq.
Yeah, and I loved that. I loved my jobs over there. That's one of the highlights of my career so far. So
it's interesting, the difference between the movies and real life is that real life is actually directed. Everything we do in the field is directed by a set of priorities that are not our priorities. They're national security priorities. And those national security priorities are set by the people who are elected into office in the U.S. and in Australia. When you think about it that way, that means that you've got all of these field operators, all of these soldiers, all of these dedicated government employees who have committed to keeping America safe, keeping Australia safe, working to keep freedom alive, right? And whatever reason it was that inspired us to join, the actual execution of what we do is dictated by these national security priorities that can change for silly reasons. They can change for political reasons, they can change for image reasons, they can change for any number of reasons. And I, just like you were saying with the Australian Army, when their goals and vision no longer align with your goals and vision, that happens more than people realize. And there's a very real time in our careers where we have to decide, okay, this is a divergent path from why I joined. Do I stay in, like your dad was recommending for you, stay in, this is only going to be a temporary phase, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, and then you'll be back aligned again? Or do I get out? And it's a huge step to get out, but there are so many people who make the sacrifice and stay in. I have a number of friends who are still serving with CIA, who are still serving with the U.S. military, and don't agree with the priorities that they're pursuing. But they are staying in, either in the hopes that things will change, or because they have gotten to a place in their life where change is not feasible to them, or the risk is too great.
I think the organisations too that we've previously worked for are safe in the sense of its job security. And so when we talk about different people, for me, I didn't need job security. Even though I had a massive mortgage, I wanted to feel like I was doing something more substantial, I guess, with my life. And when you're in an industry like the military or a government organisation, you do so much training. I've done quite a fair bit of training over the years. And when you're no longer going, I guess, or deploying to actually carry out your tradecraft, then I'm sitting back in Australia thinking, well, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
The whole reason I'm here is to actually be doing my tradecraft and making a difference.
Right.
While I'm sitting back here, I don't feel like I'm doing it. So for me, that's when I got out, and I did move over to the Middle East and then got to practice my tradecraft every day.
EDSAVAGE is the picture of high achievement. She travels the world building her own business and helping other people achieve impossible goals. She is relentless in her pursuit of self-improvement, but accepts that not all people are like her. And rather than judge them or feel frustrated by them, she somehow learns to accept them. EDSAVAGE said that espionage is about people, and on the journey to grow and develop, we need to find those people who share our values and our vision. To achieve what we are capable of achieving, sometimes we have to leave behind everything that we thought we knew. I left CIA so that I could pursue more. EDSAVAGE did something similar, and on the other side of what we left, we found what we were looking for, a new and different challenge. And we found a group of people ready to explore what might be possible if we work together. That is Everyday Espionage. Everyday Espionage is dedicated to one thing: educating everyday people. I know that not everyone will listen, but those who listen will learn. If you learned something new today, click subscribe, review, and share the podcast with a friend. Find me on social media at Everyday Spy or on my website, everydayspy.com. If you are up for a special challenge, visit everydayspy.com/operations and join me for an authentic spy training mission. And above all else, remember that knowledge is freedom.